Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from the 2019 Gibraltar Chess Masters. It's a game between Chinese Grandmaster Yu Yangyi and Russian Grandmaster Vladislav Artemiev. Now we've already shown one game by Vladislav Artemiev. It was also from the 2019 Gibraltar Chess Masters where he defeated the Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. And both of them are having an excellent tournament so far, both of them without a loss. In the previous round, Yu Yangyi defeated Vietnamese Grandmaster Laquang Liam, and Vladislav Artemiev defeated David Navarra, so both of them are ready to win this tournament. Artemiev is going into this last round with 7.5 points, whereas Yu Yangyi is going with 7 points. So there is a bit of a difference, but both of them are still hoping to win the tournament. Now, it's an excellent game, so without further ado, let's check it out. And sorry that we haven't shown more games from this very nice tournament, but it's a shame it's, it just collides with the Tata Steel, so more than half the tournament is already over before Tata Steel ends. It would be too much time to show games from both tournaments, so I don't know. It's either a good thing or a bad thing. It's either a good thing that there are so many chess tournaments in the world that there's just not enough time separately for each. But then again, you can't show all of them. I mean, I can't show all of them. You can watch them somewhere else. But still, even if you watch the live coverage, you can't watch two live coverages at a time. I mean, you could, but I sometimes do that. But it's tough work. But okay, getting back to this game, Yu Yangyi versus Vladislav Artemiev in the last round, both of them hoping to win it, and we have e4 by Yu Yangyi. c6, the Caro-Kann defense, d4, d5, and now e5. And Artemiev doesn't go for the sneaky c5, the whole transposing into the French with the tempo down, but rather goes to bishop to f5. He offers Yu Yangyi to go for the bayonet attack, but he goes knight to f3, the short variation. We have e6, bishop to e2, knight to d7. This is all standard theory. There are so many games played with this exact same variation. In the database, we have castles and bishop to g6. And here, Artemiev already played this position with the black pieces in 2018 in Skopje. He defeated David Navarra. Navarra had the white pieces here. Navarra played knight bd2. But here, Yu Yangyi comes prepared and he goes c3, a different line. But also nothing new, theory-wise. And here we have knight to h6. You have to develop this knight somehow, and here black just offers if white would like to give up the bishop pair for some messing up of the pawn structure on the king side. And it's not it's not a new move or anything. I found 38 games in the database with this exact same move, and black didn't really have any good results in most of them. But okay, we have a4. Also a known move, and here in every game available, knight to f5 was played, so black did not allow white to spoil his pawn structure with this captures, and f5 is a nice square for the knight. If white wants to kick it away, he will have to push g4 at some point. But here we have a5 by Artemiev, and this is now a new move. Now we are on move 8, and we have a completely new game. So let's see. We have knight to a3. Yu Yangyi develops the knight this way. He wants to go knight c2, knight e1, and then to d3 or f3, depending on how the game goes. Bishop to e7. Artemiev is ready to castle, and now knight c2, remaneuvering. We have castles, knight c to e1, and now comes c5. Here, Artemiev is just pretending like he doesn't have a funny knight on h6. But he does. We have bishop captures on h6, giving up the bishop pair, but also ruining black's pawn structure on the king side. And bishop to b5. And okay, we have c captures on d4, c captures on d4, and now knight to b8. Now Artemiev wants to remaneuver his knight. He wants to go to a6 or c6, and then as he does have a very nice outpost for his knight on b4, white will either have to give up even the light square bishop to prevent this, or simply allow this knight to come to b4. And as white has no a pawn or c pawn to kick the knight away from b4, it will be, like we said, an excellent outpost. Queen to d2. Now Yu Yangyi wants to grab that h6 pawn. Artemiev defends it. King to g7, and now knight to d3. We have knight to a6 going for that b4 outpost, and now knight to f4, pressuring the bishop here, but also in some lines also preparing knight to h5 check, as we'll see very soon. We have queen to b6, putting pressure on the d4 pawn, but also if the bishop moves, the b2 pawn will be somewhat threatened. But okay, the queen is now developed, the rooks are connected. And here, if you capture, you don't really gain anything. You will just fix black's pawn structure on the king side. So here we have h4, leaving the option of playing h5 in the future if needed. And black just goes rook f to c8. Here, Artemiev, if h5, it doesn't really do anything. The bishop can always go to e4. You will not be able to kick it away from there. But here, the bishop and the rook are really controlling the entire board nicely. Rook to c2 would be an excellent move for black. If black would be able to do this, then the other rook is coming to c8. And already, black would be so much better. So, of course, white has to prevent this. We have rook fc1. And now rook captures. Rook captures, and now knight to b4. Finally, the knight finds itself on this very nice b4. We have g3, strengthening the h4 pawn. Also, now the knight from f3 can move. And now we have knight to a2. And here, black sneakily wins over the c file. White could try something like rook to a1 here, which would be interesting. But white immediately went rook to d1. I thought rook to a1 would be interesting because now you have to go back with the knight. For example, knight b4 and then rook to c1. Not to repeat moves as to achieve a draw by threefold repetition, but maybe just to see if black was interested in a draw by threefold repetition. And also to maybe see if black would repeat, because Artemiev is in the lead in the tournament. He also wants to win this game, so maybe he would try to, you know, go for a different plan like knight c6 or something, but at least you would see where you stand, and it doesn't cost you anything. If anything, you are, you know, moving closer to move 40 to reach time control, so you will get more time. But okay, after knight a2, rook to d1 immediately, not checking if Artemiev would perhaps be interested in a draw, and now rook to c8. Artemiev wins the c file. And here, again, rook to a1 now would be too slow. You don't have the option of trying this now, because now rook to c2 is coming. And now, while it would be an interesting variation, now knight to h5 is actually a very nice move. You can't move the king because of queen captures on h6, then white would be winning. Now you have to capture here, and then after queen captures rook, bishop captures on f3. And after rook captures on a2, queen captures on d4 is coming. And here white would be up the exchange, but black would have the bishop pair still and would be up a pawn, so definitely excellent compensation for being down the exchange. But instead of this idea rook to a1, Yangyi tries a different approach. He plays knight to h2. Now, if this same idea happens again, at least there will not be a knight on f3 to capture after the knight on h5 is captured. So now, if rook to c2 is played, now you have knight h5 check, bishop captures, and now queen captures on c2. Knight b4 attacks the queen, the queen can move, bishop captures on d1, now queen captures on d1, and we would have this endgame, not an endgame, but almost an endgame. The queens are still on the board, but white would be somewhat better due to black's, corrupted pawn structure on the king side. You could go queen g4 check, queen h5, go knight g4, attack the h6 pawn. White would be better here. So after knight to h2, of course Artemiev does not go for rook to c2. You don't want to make hasty moves in the final round, as you've had an excellent tournament so far. Queen to c7. Now making this rook-queen battery on the c-file, preparing queen to c2 now. And okay, bishop to d3, preventing queen to c2, but also offering a trade of bishops. We have h5. Black now finally plays it. It doesn't allow white to push h5. And now we have g4. Now Yangyi is going all out. He wants to win this game. We have knight to b4. Now attacking the bishop here, but also forcing the exchange. Bishop captures. We have h captures, and now comes g captures on h5. And here, not recapturing and allowing this to capture with check, but queen to c2 now. We have h captures on g6. Artemiev here sacrifices a pawn, but for very good reason. Now he goes queen to f5, and he threatens rook to c2. Now this possibility of rook coming to c2 is once again introduced. And here, you could go for another pawn grab. For example, if you capture on f7, it's still possible, but after rook c2, you have to go queen e3, and then after bishop captures on h4, threatening to capture on f2, you have to go knight to h3. And here, after king captures, it seems white holds this, and that it is possible to play this for white. But Yangyi tries a different approach. It's, the last round, most likely time is running, so he didn't go for this yet another pawn grab. Rather, he goes queen to e3, moves the queen before rook lands on c2, and only now will he recapture if black doesn't do anything hasty. But we have f captures on g6. Artemiev now grabs the pawn, and now comes queen g3. So pressuring that pawn here, but also if the queen ever moves, then ideas like knight h5 or knight captures on e6 will become a possibility. We have rook to f8 here, now threatening to capture the knight on f4. We have knight to g2, getting out of the way, and also the knight now keeps an eye on this h4 pawn as well. But here, queen back to c2, attacking the rook on d1, the pawn on b2, and also the pawn on a4. And here, Yangyi just goes knight back to e3, defends the rook and says, okay, you can capture either of the pawns, but if you capture the pawn, then h5, white starts the attack, and you don't want your queen to be out of the game. It's a very important game. So after knight e3, we have queen back to e4, leaving white with the option of deciding how to continue this game. So here, the d4 pawn is very weak. The queen is attacking it, so knight is coming to c6, and then it will be very hard to defend this pawn. So here, Yangyi tries this next idea. He goes knight e to g4, makes room for the queen to come to e3 for when the pawn is under attack. We have knight c6, Artemiev finds a way to make it work. We have queen to e3, and now rook to f4. Now pressuring 3 times the d4 pawn, but also the queen and rook are attacking the knight here. And here Yangyi finds the correct reply, knight to f6. He attacks the queen and forces a trade on f6. We have bishop captures, pawn captures with check, king captures, and now queen captures on e4. Rook captures on e4, and now knight to f3 defends the d4 pawn as it's attacked twice, but okay, now the rook and knight are defending it, and also the knight from f3 guards the h4 pawn. But here Artemiev finds a very nice plan. He goes knight here, wants to remaneuver the knight to f5, from where it will attack both the d4 pawn and the h4 pawn. We have king to g2, and now comes knight to f5, and now you can see that this pawn is attacked twice by the rook and by the knight, but also this pawn is now attacked twice, so it's very hard to defend both. If you go king to h3, then you can see that both the knight, the rook, and the king are stuck guarding the d4 pawn and the h4 pawn as well. Again, using the green color as you enjoyed it so much. But yeah, it would be just a too passive of a position for white to hold. You can just go rook e2 and, you know, have a feast, you know, just gobble everything up. So after knight to f5, we have rook to d3. Yangyi tries an active plan, but, you know, you have to give up at least a pawn. Knight captures with check. We have knight captures, rook captures on h4, and now king to g3. We have g5, defends the rook, and now again it's not all that clear what to do here. You might want to bring your king over to the center of the board. You can go something like king f3, rook h3 check, trades rooks, and it wins for black. On the other hand, you can't. Your rook is stuck guarding the d4 pawn. If you try something like this to grab the b7 pawn, black grabs 2 pawns for your 1 pawn. So it's again not possible. Black would be up too much material. So here after g5, we have king to g2. White just waits now to see what Artemiev will do. And we have rook to e4. King back to g3, and now king to f5. We have king back to g2, and now g4, just grabbing more space in front of the white king. King to f1, and now comes b6. White goes king to g2, just waiting to see what black will do. And now comes rook to e1, making room for the king on e4. We have b3, and now it's... white seems to be holding everything, but there is a very nice way for black to win this position. You know, if you want, feel free to pause the video here and just try to, you know, muster up a plan how to go about this position. Artemiev's plan was really awesome, so I'll give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who did pause the video and tried to find the correct idea here, congratulations, it's a really nice idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, king to e4. The rook is now overloaded. The rook has to protect the d4 pawn, but also the b3 pawn, because the black rook will attack it via rook to b1. So we have rook to d2 and now rook to b1, attacking the b3 pawn. Now comes king to g3. Now white forces black king to move back because you don't want to lose the g4 pawn. We have king back to f5, and now the rook returns to d3, and again the white rook is able to guard both of the pawns. But now here's the problem. Here black plays rook to h1, and now it all becomes clear. Now the king was forced to come to g3, the rook is now allowed to h1, and now rook to h3. There is no way to prevent this. Here white tried king to g2, but Artemiev nevertheless played rook to h3, and it was in this position that Yangyi resigned the game. Why did he resign? Because even if he wins the pawn, it's not enough. Rook captures, pawn captures, and king captures. Once the king comes to e4, it's all over. Now you can just go, let's say, king g3, king captures on d4, you're already down too much material, king f4, you can go king c3, king e5, and now you can just push this pawn to victory. You queen so much faster, and you can just gobble up all the other pawns as well. Queen b3 check, it doesn't really matter, you can do whatever you want. A completely winning position. And on the other hand, after rook to h3, even if you don't capture it, there's not all that much you can do. You can't move the rook, you're going to lose the b3 pawn, and if you try something like rook e3, doesn't really matter. Black will still capture, and after pawn captures, king still comes to e4, and now it's even better for black. King f2, let's say you try this, g3 check, you force the king back. Either the king will go here, and then you'll force him to go back by threatening to promote the g pawn, or you will capture, then king captures. Now you capture here, and then you just move the king, just go here, push all the pawns, and win the game. But yeah, after rook to h3, Yangyi resigned, and Vladislav Artemiev went from 7.5 to 8.5 points, as you can see here. But before I show you the standings after round 10 of the 2019 Gibraltar Chess Masters, let's just check up on all of Artemiev's opponents from this tournament. This is the graphics is from Chess24 website. There you can always check who played who. You can check on all of the games. It's all free, so very, very, very nifty. But yeah, there you can see 8.5 out of 10 points. He won 27 rating points this tournament, which is insane if you're rated 27-10 or 27-9 in this case. As you can see, 7 wins and 3 draws, and the 3 draws being only he drew against Fernando Peralta of Argentina, he drew against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and he drew against Levon Aronian. And all the other games he won. Greatest ones being David Navarra and Hikaru Nakamura, it would seem. But yeah, an outstanding tournament, and yeah, we already mentioned, he finished 6th in the World Blitz Championship, he finished 3rd in the World Rapid Championship. Now he wins the Gibraltar Chess Festival. I think, Vladislav Artemiev is the man to watch out for in this year and the years to come. But, we'll see what happens. Because when I was covering the 2018 Blitz and Rapid World Championship, I said, okay, now Artemiev is now awesome in Blitz and Rapid, but he still has to prove himself in the Classical, and now he definitely does so. So yeah, and also we said we would show the standings. There you have it. Vladislav Artemiev, 8.5 out of 10. After 10 rounds, some of the games were still being played while I was recording this, but I don't think those games would affect the standings in the first 25. So there you have it. Also, an outstanding performance by Indian Grandmaster Murli Karthikeyan, who also has 8 out of 10 points, but kind of unfortunately for him overshadowed by Vladislav Artemiev with 8.5 out of 10. But still, you can see even Murali with 8 out of 10, ahead of Nikita Vityugov, David Howell, David Antonguiharo, David Navarra, Nils Grandelio, Slav Babu, Laquan Liam, Ivan Šarić, my countryman, also in excellent 10th place with 7 out of 10. Wesley So, then Yangyi, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Michael Adams, Kirill Alexeyenko, Hikaru Nakamura in 16th place, Romain Eduard, Rauf Mamedov, Pavel Elyanov, Hrant Melkumian, Maxim Matlakov, Zhongyi Tan, Maria Muzichuk also in excellent 23rd place, Levon Aronian in 24th, and Suri Vaibhav in 25th place. So, we already mentioned in that game between Artemiev and Nakamura, it's a tournament, it's a monstrosity of a tournament, over 100 grandmasters participating. So any place you get in the like we've shown here in the top 25 is beyond excellent. So winning a tournament like this for Vladislav Artemiev, completely insane. Congratulations to him, and definitely interest. I believe he's now, even rating wise, he's almost 2750, so he will be invited to, I believe, all the tournaments. It's gonna be really cool to watch him play. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it and that you've enjoyed this very short coverage of the 2019 Gibraltar Chess Masters. I would like to thank Gregory Laird, Mick van der Drift, Bojan Savicevic, Fernando Esteves de Oliveira, and Paul Hurst for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. One of them, the top left one, will be Kasparov's game against Vladimir Kramnik, 1996. Do check it out if you haven't. It's really insane. It's like a tribute to Kramnik for his early retirement, but yeah, like I said, I'm sure we'll be seeing much more of him. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.